And the question mark, our golden age. I hope that after this session, we will have no question mark. This will be our golden age. It is starting to be our golden age. So, starting with inspiring words of Professor Juan Antonio Pérez López, former Dean of the ESE. He was my mentor. He had a traffic accident, and well, therefore I am doing the research I am doing, thanks to him. And he said in 1994, if the 21st century works, it will be because women will have a much greater say in the organization of society, which is in a deplorable state, badly thought out, bearing the consequences of a decadent and absurd rationalism. But this mission will only be accepted by women if it does not lead to their dehumanization, if they do not lose their community, because woman is the nucleus of the family, and the family is the basis of society. I say those are inspiring words because for me they were. We were there in the International Year of the Woman in Beijing, talking about all those things. And it really was important to understand the basics that we shouldn't forget. Why had I started with all this research? Because, first of all, my participants in the ESE Business School had in their minds something like that. Work was something, life was something else. The higher the success in work, the higher also, or the lower the failure in the life. This is terrible because this couldn't be so, but maybe it was the way they looked at it. And then I said that work is life because without life you can't work, but also life is work because even though we are not paid, we are all the time working. So the line is one, not two, and the line is the line of life. So after having seen this, we thought that we should develop a new paradigm for them, men and women, to understand better what is going on in our lives. And therefore, we started with this new paradigm, well, with ourselves in the middle of a triangle, and different spheres where our life is going on, in the family, in the company, in society, and then a big environment, plenty of values or counter-values, but we are breathing. We are breathing different airs in different parts of our life, therefore there are different colors. Even though being different colors means that we are breathing different air, but we are also getting out different air. So the thing is that we are the ones changing the world every time we make decisions in every part of our lives. And then we can be those that enrich the spheres, giving oxygen, or the ones who are destroying or intoxicating with CO2. So in this sense, well, everything that I am talking about is in a book called Masters of Our Destiny. And this is now in 5 languages. I wrote just 10 copies in English, just in case you would like to have one, and they are in the main floor. So what I wanted to show now is just a flash to understand better what I am talking about with this triangle of sustainability. First, the ethical values and challenges of the global system are there for us, and a way of tackling them will be this. As I told you, we are the same person, man or woman. And then, to know where we are in this crisis, where are we coming from, we can say that there is a polluted culture with many counter-values. This creates a disengaged society, as Sigmund Bauman says. We are more and more individualistic. Then the companies are more mechanic, short-term run. Then the family is weaker because they have no time nor energy, parents, when they arrive home to educate people. Finally, we have unbalanced human beings. So this is a way to look at crisis and the reasons of the crisis, but it's a very reactive way, or if you want, it's addictive, because, well, what can we do? We are the unbalanced human being finally because everything is so bad. And then, therefore, if you want to go to the triangle, it's the same. Disengaged society brings mechanistic companies, weak families, and they're unbalanced human beings. But everything, which all these changes are coming through the people within the triangle, which is ourselves. Okay? So this is interesting to be seen because normally we are always talking about changing structure, changing systems. It is not the most important. We have to change people. So social values weaken. That was what has happened in this economic and financial crisis. The problem are values, and then As a consequence, also company integrity declines. In that sense, you know that the short-term profits have become the primary goal, not to say the unique goal, and as a consequence, even unintentionally, but you start leading to corruption, unethical practices, and aggressive behavior. So those have been the causes for the crisis. So how to change this? How can we change this? So the first possibility is for an enriching culture instead of a polluting culture would be first starting for a balanced human being. How can we do that? Well, we will see that later. But we need to start training people, educating people to become free, to become not slaves of the environment, to become people mature, who can prioritize. Then if you have balanced human beings, we will have strong families as a consequence, because our relationships will be stable and more rational and emotional. Then productive and human companies will come, and finally the society will be more healthy and sustainable. So this will be the positive cycle. In that sense, triangle again, the same, always, everything is impacting everything. It is a systemic world. Everything we do, everything we decide has consequences in any other sphere of our lives. But because it is first impacting ourselves as decision makers, and then all the others who are besides us. So if companies embrace socially responsible practices, focus on ethical values that consider employees as human people, as human persons, then society will increase its human and social capital. Otherwise, there's no way. We have no children in Europe. We are in a demographic winter, as maybe you know. And even though we can have children, but they are always in hands of others. Others meaning TV or PlayStations or whatever. So the only way for companies to compete in the long term is by building trust in the marketplace. And, well, the only way to build trust, as we know, is by engaging in honorable and virtuous practices that will maintain and increase our customer base. And this, talking to women, is so clear. We have to tell them more to men, because women, we know absolutely clear on this, what I'm saying. And then, which is also interesting, is to know that companies are not only impacting the material environment or the ecology of the environment, but also the ecology of human environment. And there have been many, many years until we have been able to see that planet Earth is being impacted in a wrong way, and therefore it was not sustainable. But now it is as if we are not aware that we are also impacting human beings in a way which is very difficult to be sustainable, and therefore, well, we have to rethink. Men and women have to rethink, companies have to rethink society, have to rethink family, how we want to build up a new society. Because every time we make decisions, we are changing the world. We are in an era of changes. We always hear that. But the thing is that we are changing the era, no? the epoca. We are changing that, the era. And then we are changing every day with every decision-making process. We are changing ourselves. We are becoming better or worse decision makers. Well, therefore, at the essay we use so much the case method, because it's once and again getting the case method. You are going to make decisions and to see anticipating consequences, what's going on there. So, and then the thing is that in the decision-making process we have values. The values are not on a wall written there. They are in the day-to-day life, making decisions, and values in action are the criteria we use to make decisions. So, whose values are we talking about? For ours. The more leaders we are in any of the spheres, the more important it is that our values are good. Those can be different types of values in the CO2 thing, no? More or less toxic, or these are more or less oxygenized. No? Okay, so this, which is a little parallel with politics, is just to start my speech. So, with this paradigm in mind, let's keep on going. Companies extract capacity, as I tell you, pollution in nature, and then pollution in society, human ecology. And then we have double effects. Inside the company and outside the company. So the business internal, it seems as if we have the best, because they are working so many hours. But those are the workaholics, the ones who are having invisible costs, very huge invisible costs, because they are destroying things. destroying people, burning out so many ones. So this is efficacy for today, terrible for tomorrow. And then social. Social, what's happening? Just to know something if you want in Spain. The low birth rate, 1.2 babies per woman. It's unsustainable totally. Mean age when first child is born is now 32, when we have less fertility. Children's education in the hands of others, as I told you, video play, divorce. We are breaking marriages one every 3 minutes. One every 3 minutes. But we have a law which is called Divorce Express divorce. You can divorce by email. No argument, no problem. No? This is the new law. A great law, as you can imagine, building society. It's more secure to buy a second-hand auto, not car, because you have 6 months security. Health problems, more stress, more depression. High expenditure on tranquilizers. Instead of going to the roots of the cause of the problem, we are going to tranquilizers. Finally, more time off due to stress than to maternity leave. And I put that here because many times it is as if to be a mother is like being sick, which is just the contrary. Please, we have 9 months to know what's going on, not with the stress. With the stress, it comes and that's it. So, we've asked 10,000 people, which were the causes of the work-family conflict in their case. Here we have the participants, what they say, and here we have the experts, what we have seen afterwards. And the first thing they said always is timetable incompatibility. Work and school are not compatible. Second, lack of company policies to have work and family balance. Then working pressures, then how many children I have, the family responsibility, or new kindergarten. So all this is what they say. But after having the correlation of what's going on in their lives, after 10,000 people being in the questionnaire, we had the first one, very interesting, the first one of these reasons is how myself balancing I'm coping with work and family issues. How myself have or have not the competencies to do it. How I confront it. I confront it as if they were enemies or as if they were two spheres of my life where I am enriching here and go there, and I am enriching here and I go there afterwards. So this was very interesting because then many people with many children were having less problems than maybe some with one child, depending on first how I confront, I cope with this thing. Therefore, after having written books on female ambition, how to become a flexible company, blah, 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 finally we decided to work on how to train people to become masters of their destiny. Because this is the way in which they will be really able to, as adults, to negotiate with companies, not just as victims, because they are always otherwise victims if they have not clear the priorities. And then it's always the problem is in the company. So second, lack of support from my boss and colleagues. Much more important than whether there is a formal policy or not is how they are making me feel when I am having a leave of absence, or I am becoming a mother. First time there will be congratulations, but the second time, if there is, third, no policies to have work and family balances, and there is no substitution, the second time they will say, hey, twice. What about the third one? No? The third one, they will say you are selfish. Everything is going on our shoulders, and you keep on having children. Fourth, working pressures, and then fifth, timetable incompatibility. Because if the company is more or less flexible, then there is not so much problem with the time schedule. And then as you see, how many children you have is under all this. So which will be, what I am trying to do now is to try to do with you a small exercise of leadership for your own life. Because we are talking about leadership. We need leaders. We need leaders everywhere, leaders in the family, leaders in the company, leaders in society. But for that, we have to be trained everywhere. I'm sure you are all leaders. But I'll always, also me, I have to remember many times things that I know, but I have to refresh. For instance, see that, no? You cannot finish the work this way, because then how would you arrive home or with your friends or with, that's terrible. So what have we to do? First, hours are we working a day? When I'm working, I will put inverted commas because it is not working, but there in the work. Many times losing our time, wasting our time because of there is the coffee, then the other coffee, and then something chatting, and the other is okay. And reunions and meetings, which are terrible. So the second one is how many number of hours are we with our family a day? When are we with the family, meet with the family, not behind the newspaper or watching TV. And then to see that the free time cannot be just time to recover, because this is what happens, no? And the weekend, no, don't say anything to your father because he's so tired. Come on. My father, when? When? Not even the weekends? My mother. Two types of spillover, okay? We have spillover, physical, notice, and measurable. Okay, you arrived late again. It's 10 p.m. Again, you arrived late. Okay, sorry. But it is worse, the psycho-emotional or invisible spillover, which is the one when you arrive at time, more or less, but your mind is there, somewhere in the work. Huh? You are there just as a body, but not as a whole person. Huh? And then someone is talking to you, blah, 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 and you try to, huh? but yes. And finally, Mommy, what am I saying? Oh, sorry, Mommy, you never listen to me. Okay. It is not that I don't want to listen, it's that I am so much embedded in the things of the work still that I cannot open the ears for others. So, first of all, which would be the moment in which we are not so terribly exhausted, we are still human beings, alive, to go home. And this is something you have to decide. It is a good time to live. Then, a second thing that happens is that normally 80% of the spillover is from work to family conflict. Then we have less quantity and quality of time, then we reduce the family support, then we have more personal and family conflicts and stress, and finally 20% comes back, spillover in family to work. Okay. So this is called the vicious cycle. What's the problem here? Why is it so? Because we start from the company, going to the family, without disconnecting. That's the problem. We cannot disconnect. How are you disconnecting normally? Because I'm sure you do. How are you disconnecting? You don't disconnect. That's good. That's a good solution. You don't disconnect. That's a solution already. But why you don't disconnect? Because it's impossible to disconnect. The only way to disconnect is to connect to the other place where you are going. And that's something you have to exercise. Because the only way to disconnect with all these things in the world is to say, okay, who's waiting now at home with my friends, with whoever. No? And then you move to the next sphere. And the same here. If you have somebody which is ill at home and you have problems, then you go to the work and you have to be very sure that you are connected with the next one. Who is expecting, who's waiting for me, who's the supplier, who's the client, who's waiting for me, what are we going to do to make it a success, whatever it is. So Seneca said, if a man, meaning human being, knows not what harmony is, anyway, when is the right way. So, to know where we are going, we maybe need to have this exercise. We talk about the trajectory of life. We said, remember, only one line, but 2 lines or 3 lines, not fragmented lives, just one, integrated. And then to be not like a roller in our lives, going up and down, we need to have first this exercise, which is to precisely, more and more precisely, to know who am I, where I am coming from, where are my roots, where are my principles, where are my competencies. And therefore, which is my potential, then to go where I am going. To be very realistic of my possibilities, my potential, and then there are 2 exercises there, one and the other one. The more precise we can be, the better for us. We'll be much more happy and peaceful, because we will let go so many things that are not for us. And to say no is a very good exercise to become more free. Yeah? Okay, then the first one. Who am I? Arabic proverb. If a man tells you that to look at the camel, just ignore him. If 2 men tell you, have a look at him. And even though we don't like what they are saying, I have here something, well, I should say, thank you. First of all, this is the work. Thank you. And then we will see and we will think. But thank you, because otherwise nobody else will tell you what you really don't know about you. Because it's the others who know about you. So, then some people say, well, I will have a coach that will let me do this. Careful with this, huh?
Usa. Sí.
Okay, so words that being informed says is thinking that you are. Worse than not having a coach is thinking that you have one. Every time you say, come on, how can you lead my life or trying to lead or to help if you're blinder than myself? More blind. Okay. So next thing is to know which is our personal mission, and this has to be discovered. Because it is not that I will think about I would like to only, but what is feasible? Both things. We can dream, and therefore we are like magicians. And we are going to do the golden age, this era. But magicians comes from mago. Magos is Greek and means the power to do things, the capacity to do things. Therefore, or we have the potential, or otherwise we won't. So, personal mission is after having done so many decisions till now, in my case, 51 years, mother, commitments as a mother, as a spouse, as a professional, as a consultant, as a writer, whatever. Boom. Then from here to there, I have these things to do, and I have so many possibilities that I have to see which are the ones where I am unique and I am irrepeatable. Those are the ones I have to do. All the others maybe I can delegate or someone else can do that. So first of all, to know which is my personal mission, and then which is my family mission, my professional mission, and my social mission. And it's very interesting to know that we are there in the person. This means personal leadership. We have so many plates all at the same time juggling, but only two are porcelain. Which are they? The others are plastic. So if they go down, which are the porcelain ones? Who knows? Family, yes, and yourself. If you break, everything is broken. So this is important. And then what Albert Einstein was saying something which was very man's problem lies not in the atomic bomb, but in his heart. I don't know whether he knew what he was really wanting, the same as I don't know to explain. But it's very important to understand that our minds and our hearts are not half a meter away. As you know, neuroscience says that everything is here, no? Sentiments, emotions, and rationale, everything is in our brains. And then the thing is that depending on what motivates us, depending on that, we will have lenses to see the reality or others. Lenses with more or less dioptries, more or less realistic, and in some way, as a consequence, a different management style or leadership style. Different leadership styles depend on motivation. And that's something that I'm sure other attention will know, but it's important. Because first, different types of motives. Why are we going up every day to work or whatever? First, we like rewards. This is extrinsic, everything that's coming from the environment. But also because we like what we do. Intrinsic, this is in the task itself. We love learning, we love doing what we do, and that's it, and we have fun. But there are also another type of motives, which are the transcendent ones. Everything that I am doing is impacting others. It's transcending myself, because it transcends myself to arrive to others, to satisfy real needs of others. And this is the third type of motives. In some way, they talk about also pro-social, altruistic, but it's not exactly the same as I believe. Okay, then, depending on what is the motive that is really weighting more in my motivational structure, which is the one who really makes me move, I will finally have one glasses or others to see reality. Let's see what happens here. Because, we have
Again, this is the USS Montana requesting that you immediately divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Over.
Please divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid collision.
This is Captain Hancock. You will divert your course. Over.
Negative, Captain. I'm not moving anything. Change your course. Over.
So, this is the USS Montana, the second largest vessel in the North Atlantic Fleet. You will change course 15 degrees north. I will report to take measures to ensure the safety of this ship. Over.
This is the light explanation. It's your problem.
Bueno, and then, what do you think? What do you see here? That many of us can be like this captain here. We are very, very sure that this, what we have in front of us, is a machine. It's a machine. It's a machine. But it is not. It's a person. Huh? And then many times we have this problem. And this comes, the problem is that the person can be seen as a machine, which is just as a producer or consumer in the role, or this was in the very beginning of the 20th century. Then in the middle of the century, we were starting talking about psychological things, and then we said, well, but with feelings and emotions. So it's a psychological point of view, which is better than the first one, but not enough. And then the third one says, no, a person is a person, not only producer or consumer with feelings and emotions, but with rationality and with freedom to decide and in a responsible way. No? Okay, so only if you have the third type of motivation, you think that people can be moved by other things that are not intrinsic or extrinsic, then you will be able to lead any type of people. Otherwise, the ones who are moved by transcendent motives are not in your scope. You cannot learn it. It's impossible. Because they always will have cleaner lenses than yourself. So part of a reality that you don't see. Okay? So why happens this? Because every time we are in a conflict, intermotivational conflict, we talk about that. Intermotivation means that you have rational motivation and spontaneous motivation. If the spontaneous motivation is, I love this car, I buy it, and I don't even think about it's good, bad, worse, no, I just buy it. You are more and more slaves of the buying car or whatever, right? You are not thinking, therefore you are not absolutely free. The second part of the motivation will be rational. You are thinking. The rational motivation comes because you see the consequences of the action. And then you see that maybe extrinsic. I love the car because I like to boast. I like to show off. Or if I want them to applaud myself. Extrinsic. Or because I want to drive fast. Well, there will come some sanction, but so I love running with my car. Intrinsic or transcendent, so that the grandparents feel it, all the children and the friends feel it. So I am thinking on others. As much as we are making this process of rational and transcendent motives being put into my decision-making process, I am always in my classes and I am looking at reality in a more realistic way. I see more variables. Many times we are saying, well, those men here are not so good, and then we start talking about the intentions. And many times there is no bad intention. It's that success has made them more and more blind. Just because they have incorrect decisions making, but with economic results. And then they are making again and again. So they have benefits many times, not because of them, but in spite of them. Yes? But they are very successful. So it's difficult for them to see that there is some problem there with variables that they don't see. So one can only see what one looks at and can only look at what one has in mind, said Alphonse Bertillon. But we could say and what one has in heart, in the heart. And this is what gives you the lenses to see the world. The same heart with which we are loving others, we are loving ourselves. And something which is typical for women, they say we are low in self-esteem. Why are we low in self-esteem? Many times because we are there in the first levels, extrinsic self-esteem. I mean, we love ourselves as much as we have money, fame, social and professional status, important friends, a perfect figure. For how long? This is changing so much, huh? Then everything depends on what the others look at me and say, yes, yes, bravo, bravo. But this is very superficial self-esteem, because you break it very soon. The second one, because I am intelligent, have university degrees, speak languages, like challenges, I'm a good learner, intrinsic motives. Well, in some way, it is not as depending on the others. So the axis of your life is more inside than external. But imagine that you have an accident and you are tetraplegic. So what? You always can have the third one because you are open to everybody else's needs and keen to serve others, even in tetraplegic positions. Huh? You can help others to become better because they are helping you. So it's infinite the possibilities you have in the third level. I am not saying that we don't like this one and the second one. I am saying that it is not good to base our lives and self-esteem in extrinsic or intrinsic motivation, because then we will be lost when things have changed. Okay, so in the companies, what happens with talent management and motivation? Very, very quick. The ones who are alumni of the ESA know that very well. Managers' visions depending on motives. If you are the extrinsic person, you look at people, employees like money machines, workforce. The only way to incentivize these incentive sanctions or external recognition, so the coercive power is your only tool to lead, which is not me. And here, the manager talent you need is to become a strategist, to look at, to have the business vision, to know where are new businesses, and therefore bring money to pay the workforce. And that's it. This is a mechanistic point of view, and it's closed in itself. Many times it's what we are looking for, we are living in many companies. This is the first one. But this is not really a leader. The problem is that everyone here is called leader because they have the function of leadership. But to have the function doesn't mean you are a leader, because you are not behaving like one. You are a person with power, but this is not the same as leadership. So the second one is intrinsic. You have not only the definition of machine, but also like an animal, more or less, or irrational, or not so much irrational, but you have to put some sugar for this animal to become good. So abilities and knowledge is what you are seeing in the employee, and you have the manipulative power of emotions, not only the coercive power to make them work. So you bring challenge to work, you bring attractive work, and professional development, which is much more than the first level, as you can see. Manipulative power doesn't mean always negative. Manipulative power means influence, and that's what we need always. Influence can be for the good or for the worse. So manipulative power, we need it. And coercive power, we need it, of course. The thing is that the more we have this third level, the less we need those. What is the third level? A person with Kasani motives has the glass is very clean, the others are more black, as you see, or gray, to see reality as it is. And then they see people like talent, real talent. And talent is the formula, abilities times commitment. Abilities, competencies times commitment. Because you can have the best person, if it is not, he's not committed or she, with your project, forget it, it is not talent. The other way around, the person is very committed but without the ability. Okay? So, how this leader, which is the personal leader, is going to motivate all these people. Not only with this, but making us working sense, setting an example, helping personal development, which is effective power. They are doing this because they trust me, because they love me, because they know that I want their good. So, through freedom and responsibility. So these three are called leaders, but unless we differentiate which kind of leadership we are talking about, it is a mess. We don't understand each other. So, the first one is the strategist leader is market leader, the one who can do fortune lists. The second is the executive leader, is the social leader, mass leader, the one who's before anyone, the other are behind, not following. But you know that those kind of leaders can be terrible, can be nefastos, negative, or positive, depends. So there, finally, you have also the personal leader, the one who is helping one by one the people to improve and to unleash their whole potential. Okay? I'm not saying that the other ones are not important for a company. What I am saying is that we cannot stay in the first level or in the second. We need to three. Okay, so differences between men and women. think you know all this. I think we have some men here. Women, valientes, courage people too. Okay. Let's see what are those. First of all, just to know that we have the same rights and responsibilities, dignity and value that we know, okay, but there could be any stereotypes and roles of any kind, but the personal differences depend on different biological, psychological, and cultural factors. It's true. So, in the anthropological level, we are human beings, free and responsible. There is no difference. In the biological level, it's clear that we are different and then complementary. But in the psychological, too. Because our brains are impacting our day-to-day vision and our day-to-day making decisions because of the vision, which is different from men. Well, in this sense, which is interesting is that the it's frequent, men and women are in the masculine trends, this will be the media, and feminine trends. But you see that here, there are some part of our trends, of our traits, of our possibilities as feminine or masculine, that go into the other. This would be the part that it's very good for us to learn. We have to learn from men so many interesting things that we have not. But they also should learn something from us. And then I think we are more open than they are. But those are the exceptions, these three. So, yeah, I am sure about that. Even though so most people are situated between the two extremes of masculine and feminine trends, it's true, but there are always people in between, and we need to have this learning one from the other. So differences in the brain of men and women, and I'm going to make here the speech in a scientific way, but just for you to know things that are very clear. When we think, when they think, the left hand brain is in action, no? And then they say, well, one after the other after the other. It's a very Cartesian way of thinking. When a woman starts thinking, it's not only the left but also the right hand, and then sentiments and emotions are there, embedded in the way of thinking. Therefore, in a sense, we have more capacity many times to see more variables. At the same time, it's more difficult for us to make some decisions because we can anticipate more the consequences in people. They see more numbers and we see more people in some way because of the brain again. And then, therefore, we are complementary. And this is not that one is better than the other. The men, normally, till now, we have had companies that have been designed and structured by men from 19th century until the 80s, 70s, mostly by men. And then thought by them, it's very much structured systems. But then what about styles and values? This is as if it was not so important. But then this is the part we have to learn. Normally, hola, Rosa, ¿quieres decir algo?
Me reía porque decía que los hombres tienen dos partes también que te dicen.
Sí.
Una que piensa y otra que
No piensa. And then this type of thing is important because it starts, imagine, it starts the 15th day of the embryo. All this. Because the hormones, X6 and the genes, X6 and XY, start to put some differences in the nervous system, which starts in the 15th day of the embryo. So everything is changed in a way, just in the biological way, and then later it will come the cultural one. But then, to see that hormones influence the hardware of the brain. Testosterone destroys the areas related to communication from the apes. Induction to the areas of the I'm sorry, but therefore we have to educate children, very, very small ones, because less sensible to emotions and social relationships. Okay? Then women have more mirror neurons, and thus is much more empathetic and less selfish than men, in general as nature. And then the non-verbal sensitivity in decoding body language signals is greater in women and men. So all these are just very, very brief things to you can go to the books, which are so big, to know how this is done. So therefore, living styles are different because all these are generics again. Generics, I mean generalizations. And when we generalize, many times we are making some unfair judgments. But I am not talking about different people because different people are unique. But there is some regular basis, and man and women. Encourages competition, can do it alone, doesn't delegate, and encourage cooperation, participation, faster teamwork, delegate, less communicative, better communication skills, less relation and express, more aggressive, more gentleness, more caring, less empathetic, more systemic, difficulty to read non-verbal communication, empathetic, less sensible to establish interpersonal relations, social tends to establish interpersonal networks, friendship. Only rational is important, what can be measured and counted, emotional important. So, and you will say, no. There are too many exceptions to that, isn't it? Of course. Because one thing is what nature is giving, another one is what we are building on this nature. And then what we are building on this nature, which is very interesting, after having done many thousands of questionnaires of women and men in executive positions, it's very interesting to see that the executive women profile is much more similar to executive men than to any other woman in the world. So we finally are adapting ourselves and mimetizing the way in which men are doing things just to run in the same area by which they have been doing. Yeah.
No, I would somewhat, from my own experience, say that the definitions are very different. So I think men actually work much better together than women do, but the male definition of working together and being in a group, cooperating, is as a group and as a hierarchy. It has a pack mentality, and when you're in business, I think that you need to do that to win, because you're much stronger as a group than as an individual. So I agree that these adjectives describe sort of basic behavior, but it's leaving out this aspect of what it takes to win in a competition, which a group wins much more easily than an individual. And I think women tend to act much more individually than men do.
And we need to network much more, and therefore this networking, which is not network, means not only the number of contacts, as you know, but the quality of relationships. Relaciones. But here is the quality of relationships, much more than the number of contacts. No? That's something. So here we will have now a very nice thing one. A person who's saying, a woman who's saying to the spouse, what has he to do? Because you have to do this, and this. So the guy is saying, what are you saying again? No? I'm trying to listen, but it's impossible because we're saying thousands of things in 1 minute. So finally, what's up? The thing is that finally his mind, because he has got it. Huh? He has got it, and what has he got? So you will see. Selective understanding. Huh? Go to supermarket, clean the shower, run to the washing up, watch over the baby, hang out the laundry, clean up the TV, look for a plumber, walk the dog for a while. He understands, go to the sofa and watch the TV. Well, and then when the poor guy is in the sofa watching TV, what is going to happen? I told you! Again. And then, well, we say that we have problems in communicating, but you always say, women are too complicated. And we say, and you are too simple. And we both are true, because our brains are full, no? And yours are more calm than one after the other. So it is true, but we have to know that, otherwise. So the economic benefit is the most important, it's good in generating alternatives, and more sexual impulses in the brain. Yes. 10 times more, by the way, 10 times more. And the woman brings the social and the transcendent objective, and it's humanism into business. It's good in evaluating the alternatives, more in anticipating the consequences, and the sexual and impulses than in the brain. So the balance is opposite forces but complementary, and then in this sense there's a lot of yin and yang and a lot of yang and yin. No? In the independent principles of yin and yang are actually dependent on one another for each distinguishable existence. They are two aspects of the same reality. So this is a metaphor to talk about men and women. We are human beings, but human beings cannot be one together, is or man or woman. But the way in which we have the two eyes together open is when we work in teams. No? And then opposite forces do not exchange in opposition, but rather exchange to promote stability. And this is what we should have in mind. We are not struggling against anyone. We are building things together. That's the way in which we have to do that. But knowing that we are very different, because otherwise we are not in reality. So man and woman will have to be able to participate in all spheres of life, family, society, and business, seeking harmony like the dualism in the Oriental philosophy, yin yang. The masculine and the feminine will have to be able to reflect and be interdependent, as dark and light, women and men, women and men. Okay, and then, woman's leading style. Our challenges and strengths. What are these challenges and strengths? Creativity and entrepreneurial activity that leads to innovation and fast economic growth is more likely to emerge in gender mixed teams. We know that. But, well, sometimes we are normally hiring women, the same as men. Men are hiring men because this is the more easy for them. They understand each other much easier, the same way. So it's interesting for us to make this effort to say, okay, we are so many women, why don't we bring a man? Increasing women in decision-making bodies such as boards will work against both the good thing and social silence, characteristics, and dysfunctions of the actual male-dominated boards. Women present will change these dysfunctions. They do not know the rules of the game, and because they have developed highly moral compass. This is a problem we have in the boards now. Some of the women entering the boards, we have a program only for women in the board, and they are saying, well, maybe we are too much executive and not so much politics. And this is something which they don't like. Because we go directly to ask. If we don't like something, we ask, or we don't understand, we ask, why? And this is not the rule of the game of those boys' club, the boards till now. So we are, in this sense, great because we start good, but we have to be prudent. Because if we do this too quick, that will be a backlash, a boomerang. Both men and women preferred a woman, and this is our Spanish survey yesterday, more than 1,200 workers. They preferred a woman as a boss regarding work and family balance, and also preferred a boss with children regarding work and family balance. This is very interesting. Because you change your glasses, you change the lenses when you have really the problem. You understand others when you have had the experience. Why is it so that some entrepreneurs, big ones, and some executives don't have this flexible way of doing things? Because they haven't had the necessity, the need. They haven't experienced it. They were always outside home. And then they start knowing what's going on when they become grandparents. And then the daughter is going home with the grandchildren. And then they ask, what's going on in your company? How come that they don't let you be with your children? Okay. But this is because they have the experience afterwards. So all this you know, women on boards improve economic results. You can have all that you want, maternity, successful career, startup, but not always at the same time 100%. This is something you have to have also in mind. We have to prioritize. There are different moments in life, and you have to decide. And another thing, balancing work and family is not an individual thing. If you are in a family, it's a family thing. Everybody has to put their part. Okay, we have to dedicate more time to networking and negotiating for ourselves. As for more salary, promotion, mentoring, investment, have more confidence, self-esteem, take credit for success, not blame, and be more flexible, more visible, ask for help. I say that not because of you, because you are an entrepreneur, but because you will have many women in your ranks. No? And this is what is happening. They are not aware of what they can do, what they value, or how much they value. So woman-to-woman leadership programs to support other women to take the lead, and this is something which we have to do. Woman-to-woman leadership programs to support other women to take the lead. So best practices in companies, we have, in this sense, we have many. But for instance, only 30 out of 500 of the world's largest companies are led by women. Some numbers here. In world management positions, 20% in 2010 in the whole world. Asia Pacific, 35, 45, more. In the 600 largest companies of Europe, 27, we have board members, 10, 12, presidents, 3%. In Japan, managers, 8%, board members, 1.4%. In Colombia, 0.4%, just company there. USA managers, 45%, board members, 5%. So there are different parts of the world, different regions going in different paces. But, well, some are very slow, some not so much. Here we have Europe. And I wanted to show this just because of France. France, the CAC 40, which are the 40 most important companies there in France, they have had a program which part of them, just not half of, not, almost half of them, 20 CEOs have decided that they are starting a program to make women improve, promote, and go to the committee, executive committee, and the board. How? Every CEO has given 1, 2, or 3 names of women that were invisible, make them visible, and tell the market that they are visible, that they are there, and that they are wanting to go up. And then having a mentor, another CEO of another company, another sector from these women. And then the thing is that being mentoring these women, or this CEO is making them arrive to the CEO committee or to the CEO or to the board, or they will leave, or they will go to another place, but they are visible in the market. This is a good way to make them improve their positions.
On your previous slide, you had China at 30. What are they doing? The Asian Pacific, why they're at 35?
Why are they so high? This is always so, but not only in China, also in Philippines.
Exactly.
The women there is you are.
Yes, in the Philippines, I would say generally HR officers, HR managers, HR directors are far better than them in terms of having the People's Management Association that about 90% are women. Really, it's the HR position. Because women can always communicate even with men and to avoid bullies and all that.
That's true.
There's much more equality between men and women. Right from university level. And in Australia, there are more women graduating
That's
than
what we
men.
are going to see now. Yeah, well research positions, 30% in 2010. Research position is less than what you say, but Central Asia 50% of the research people, Asia 20%, Europe 30%, Africa 30%, South America 50%. We are growing up, no? And then women are 54% of university graduates in the OECD. Women are 59% of university diplomas, 61% of the PhDs in Europe. Women university graduates in Japan and Korea 49%, in Turkey 44%, and in the USA 58%. So we are growing and growing in education. So we have the potential and we have to live, but we need to arrive. Huh? So women labor force decreases when having a child, and man labor force increases when having a child. Women labor force is more in middle management and small and medium enterprises. The European Gender Equality Group. So this is to say that even though we want to be equal, there is something that they cannot do, which is having children. So even though we want them to stay at home as fathers, mothers are mothers, and then, well, not always is interchangeable, the thing. In Spain, we have the thing that when you have one child or two, they start thinking in the executive level what to do. And 60% of the women with in the first or the second or the third child decide to leave the company, 60%. This 60%, they are leaving because it's inflexible, rigid, and they cannot. Rigidity is impossible for them. Then they are not going to stay at home. So they go to other companies. That means that they are able to negotiate better in other companies, the flexibility that they didn't have in the first one. And then the other 30%, mostly, more than 90%, are going to startups for themselves, which is interesting too, to know. Because this is where they are working like mad, like you are, but with the flexibility of, yes, but today I don't want to. So there are political efforts, both the International Labour Organization, the European Union, are recommending women empowerment and leading positions such as boards and parliament. Norway has a binding of 40% women in boards, as you know. In Spain and France, this quota will be effective in 2015. I have been with Vivian Reding, the one that mentioned human rights and women in the European Union two weeks ago, and we were talking about all this. He wants to put it as compulsory. I am against. I was the only one there saying, don't do that. It is too tough. It will be a backlash for many people here. But everybody says, no, you need this, otherwise we won't arrive. I am not so sure. When we were with Adela in 2002 in the Global Summit some years ago in Barcelona, we had to make the numbers of how many women are there in the board, and there was only 2% in the 2002. Now, 2011, we are 11%. So it is not a 9%. 9 points means 600% of increase. So if in 9 years we have this increase, 600%, please keep on going in a natural rhythm, keep going. We only have 25% of MBAs in our schools, in ours and in anywhere. So no more than 25% means that we need people with a P&L arriving to the general management to go to the boards. Otherwise, it's not nonsense. So we cannot go against all these numbers. But anyway, other states are legislating also in this sense. So something which is interesting also to see the differences between regions. Talking about importance of talent management as a top priority, Asia Pacific 35%, saying yes it is in the 2005, 6 years ago. At that time, Europe only 10% said yes it is important. In North America only 12%. This is very interesting because maybe therefore because there are much more women there that have very clear talent management is top priority. So the Spanish Management Survey about company culture as an obstacle of your career was very also interesting because it's the same here in the States. Very few women in leadership positions, then I don't want to struggle. The management styles, which are rigid, taught by men and for men in the 19th century, and very late meetings, which are nonsense. We have now all the tools to become flexible. We are now in the century of the F. What I call the F, because first flexibility, or we are flexible, or we won't be sustainable. Second, the F of football, no, because flexibility comes with the football always, no? When there's a football match, everything is changed, no? Flexibility, not for football, but for feminine. We need a feminine point of view, a feminine leadership, also for men. We need feminine leadership, and then we need family. So, if there is not this fifth F, this won't be sustainable at all. Okay, some best practices in companies are more to do with systems, no? Ethical code of conduct, equal opportunity charter, equal access and value in the workplace, promotion of women in position of responsibility, training for equality, communication and non-sex stereotype language, reconciling measures for personal life, family and work. So there are different types of possibilities here, mostly systems and styles. But if you don't evaluate, if you have no numbers, you are not following, you are not improving. So this is a best practice in Asia. 3,000 employees work from home to replace daily mass exercise sessions in Matsushita. They have decided that they can stay at home to do that. And then they can work from home. And then, well, the ExxonMobil is family friendly, modified work week, part-time work, exit time, as you see, we want it or not, when we talk about women and flexibility, it is flexibility. But of course, this is the way in which we open to men, because the change agent has been the woman having children, because she was legitimated for having flexibility, but then everybody else is coming into that. So in Accenture, you also have gender segregation, wellness for women, healthcare options. In Motorola, well, everything that has to do with flexibility too. There's a Singapore Women's Business Council, etc. In Africa, for instance, in Nigeria, companies like the Working Class Bank or Nigeria 76, technological in Kenya, work from home, support for family, child care, everything that you have here, but time off for community service and women, it is an obstacle. Women remain a minority voice in leadership positions, and research of women in leadership positions in 8 African countries, this was done by unions, says that women, first, are discouraged by negative perceptions of their leadership abilities. While gender equality is almost official policy, it is not internalized by most of the male leaders. Second, discriminatory employment policies and recruitment practices. Third, unequal share of family and household responsibilities. Fourth, lack of control over productive resources, for instance, land property, or getting the salary the man instead of the woman who has worked. And fifth, the gender pay gap. So those are, for instance, in Nigeria. No? And then here we have Ursula Burns. Maybe you have heard about her, the new president of Chinchilla. Thanks to that, to her, now we have also a general executive CEO of a woman in Spain for years. And she says the power of our people development model is that it recognizes the value of diversity from entry-level positions to the top seats. When you have been at it as long as you have, the bench gets pretty strong for next generation of leaders who represent the real world. What they all have in common is strong skills, solid working ethic, commitment, and the will to win. What they are doing is absolutely meritocracy. Arguments, for instance, to empower the women. To reflect the communities we live in, to attract high-level workforce talent, to attract wider customer base, to better understand them, to allow for diversity of ideas, to exceed government requirements of non-discrimination. This is important. We are not waiting for government to say something. We know that this is strategic, and therefore we go before, no? In advance. We are 31% of workers women in interiors, and 19% of the vice presidents are women. Then, key initiatives they have: diversity training, promote awareness and e-learning of differences, work-life programs, caucus group of women, and CEO and senior management round tables to meet diverse employees, to share best practices with unfiltered communications in understanding areas of improvement. So many of those things are done in many big companies, women, but well, this is many times not enough to change. They have also the Diversity Council, create diversity, value diversity. So they are valuing the fast-track women, promotion and training of women. Manage diversity, train and value managers for their diversity. And this is what I said before. If you don't evaluate and put numbers, you won't get promoted. You won't get in advance. Lead diversity, share with other companies our knowledge and best practices, and communication strategy, both inside and external. If you go externally and saying things like that, then you have to do it internally. And then you are committed with the press and with other people who are spreading the press. So what the conditions for best practice success, that's what Ursula says, do not use positive discrimination measures that are not accepted by women and not understood by men. This is a good sentence. Many times we are trying from above to decide what's better. No, grassroots. We want them to talk, to say what they really like and need. Implicate men and women in the cultural change. It's not only about women and social justice, it's about business and non-professionals. Impulse the best practice from the high management positions. Design a global project with the ability to adapt to reality and local needs, and communication strategy that adds value to the project. So why and how the 21st century will be our golden age? Why and how? Well, first, we are in a crisis of our old mechanistic paradigm, structure of power that does not take into account the consequences to human beings, that gives freedom without responsibility, and there's a need for human ecology that will be brought by women. That's clear. The crisis, well, Hayek, Berlin, and Goshaw said women will see the invisible, and sensible, and physical, and therefore the crisis of paradigm that establishes the physical, sensible, visible, and measurable is the only thing that exists. This was the old paradigm that leads to our crisis. The actual crisis of leadership and the need for real leadership is an opportunity for women to lead. So this is our moment. We have to do that as best we can. We have this kairos. You know that the kairos is the time when the things has to happen. And this is the kairos for us, because our golden opportunity in remaining loyal to our community and our families and our commitments, we will assume more leading roles due to the economic and social changes, the need and value more feminine leadership style, and will make it emerge. So we need governments to support flexible and responsible companies, companies to implement flexibility, managing by objectives. That's what we are doing in ours for sure. And the personal challenge of anyone, men and women, to reconcile work, family, personal life, being woman or man. Peter Sanger, in this thesis, said the real skills of leadership mirror the skills of effective parenting. In a way, this is what I was saying in the triangle of sustainability. We are the same here and there. We are being good leaders at home. We will be also good leaders with our employees. And the other way around too, but not we are not going to be good leaders in the company if we are not good leaders at home. Because the family is a small, medium company. Everything is there. We have joint capital contribution, conversions of ideas, opening markets, agility plans, customer service, monitoring successes and mistakes. This is a company. And this is the one we are leading, or alone, or with a spouse. But this is something which is developing our competencies. But we have to be there. Michael Levine said, having children does not turn one into a parent in the same way that having a piano does not turn its owner into a pianist. So we need to have the time, we need to have that. But then, and just to know something interesting, when we are at home, parents, men or women, we are not wasting our time. And this is what happens with this son talking about my mother.
Hola.
Hola.
¿Qué tal la entrevista?
Lo de siempre, piden referencias.
¿Referencias? Vaya. Nací en el 86. Desde entonces todos le creamos unas ojeras que no oculta. Ella dice que son producto del amor. Su carrera se basaba en la persuasión. Me convenció de que la locura me pondría los ojos verdes. Imaginación que me faltara. La llama sí está. Siempre está. Por eso me he convertido en el imbécil que podría llegar a ser. A veces grita así. Pero ¿cómo no va a enfadarse de alguien que lleva toda la vida comiéndose el filete con los nervios? Porque se ha convertido en todo. Es un genio. Debería darle las gracias a mi padre por haberla elegido. Yo creo que somos referencias. Quiero tenerla aquí. ¿Y usted? ¿Tiene referencias?
So this is a very, very good one. This is very clear. And then most valued management skills, we've done this in 30 countries, and these 10 are coming once and again. Those are the skills that they want in the companies nowadays. Those are the ones developed in the companies. Customer orientation. That means you are oriented to the needs of others. If you are not, then you're starving. So you need it. Second, leadership. You are always being as a reference for it. Third, integrity. If you stop talking in the phone and not saying the right thing, they will say, "Oh, mommy, you can't lie." Huh? So fourth, initiative. Saying that things are not going directly to the board. Teamwork. The only place where we really are teamworking is at home, because the other thing is meeting. Teamwork is putting your best as much as you can, and the 3-year-old child is putting the spoons, and that's it. And the other ones are doing their jobs too. Communicating is to put in common. Only you are doing that sharing when the others are important to you. Business decision making, and functional orientation. More and more companies want this. Not silos, but in the functional orientation. And that's what happens at home when someone has not done well something. The other one has to do it. Mothers normally. So our most important enterprise is our life, you know that, and the lives of those who depend on us. And try not to be seduced by the fascination of careers that will cause us to lose our way in life and turn us into slaves of our profession. This is what I said in 1998, because I was starting to be like that. So that at a crucial moment in history, in the starting of a new century, of a new millennium, should be a stimulus for us to reconsider in all seriousness the type of life and the type of company we want to build. And remember what Oscar Wilde was saying. Unlike murderers who kill their victims with a knife, humans kill the things we love out of neglect. So, because we don't remember anything else, no? We're just working. And work is like a gas that enters every hole we have in our agendas, and the whole agenda is work. So we have to block the moments for the company, for the friends, for the family, for ourselves, for our time. And that's the 2 more minutes I have, and I finish with that, is what we are doing in the Center for Work and Family, which is the center of research where I am working the last 12 years, and I was founding. It's family responsible employers. We were diagnosing different companies because we know that flexible working arrangements are not a cost, but an investment. And then we needed numbers to see that. This, of course, is an investment in health, motivation, high productivity, retention, and we have all the numbers. And not flexibility, or yes, it is a cost. Not desired turnover, visible and invisible absenteeism. More than 30% of the visible absenteeism go down when you have flexibility, conflicts at work, etc. And less productivity per work hour. That's what happens when you are there. You are there, but not work, because you have to survive. Finally, you are burnt out. So, IFRAE means yes, a family responsible employer index aims to show the impact of those family responsible flexible policies, practices, and leadership on employee health, commitment to loyalty, intention to leave the company, and satisfaction. This is the overall model. We see different cultures and values and legislation of every country and in the regions. Then we see in the company the work environment, which has policies. How is the supervisor? Is he helping or she helping? or not to the flexibility, and how is the culture? Is well or not well seen? And then we see here the individual characteristics, if they prefer to segment or to integrate their spheres of life, responsibility and role at home, whether he is man or woman, and then organizational and individual result impact on results. Here in the middle is the participants' flexible and highly responsible environment, which is very interesting. Instead of talking about the company, which is a whole, we talk about the environment, the small environment, which is the one who is really influencing my day-to-day life. It's the one who the supervisor is letting me do it or not, and this is the one who we are finally measuring. A, B, C, or D means, after the questionnaire, you have a dot in enriching, systematically facilitating, flexibility, or toxic, systematically hindering. And then in between, all the other ones. So here, worldwide free study is now in 23 countries. And then, as you see, here, United States is not. So I need to have something in the United States because we have Canada, the whole in South America, Central America, some in Nigeria, Kenya, Philippines, New Zealand, well, Europe. But we need the States to be able to benchmark because it is very important for the change we need. Because then the CEOs look at that and say, okay, I am always in the 2 or 3 or 3 position, and now I am the 25. So even though it is right for the wrong reason, they start wanting to flexibilize and to do things just on the ranking many times. So we have men, women, with children, without children, all this. And this is what we are measuring. Policies, supervisors, culture, as I told you. And just to finish, to know that the high commitment, when you are in an environment which is flexible, at 7 is maximum, you are 6.2 of commitment. And if you are in a D, you are maximum at 4.6. Okay? So all this is more productivity, more commitment, more wanting to be there. Because the other one, I will tell, is this. Intention to leave the company. This is in the world, okay? The world total. If you are in a rigid environment, 4.6 out of 7. And if you are in an enriching and flexible environment, 2.2. That means that more than twice you are wanting to leave. So where is your mind? Where is your heart? Outside, trying someone to get you and to love you. So this is terrible. And if this is not the different regions and different countries are different. But for instance, in Spain, this is like that. So not only 4, 6, but almost 6, and here 1. So because there we have really very rigid companies. So finally, Ernesto Kahn, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, said, in as far as we are able to see the invisible, we will be able to do the impossible. But I am sure we are going to see the invisible because we are able to do that. So we will be able to do the impossible, and with Marcus Aurelius' prayer, Lord, give me the courage to change what I can change, the serenity to accept what I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is just prudence, which is not easy. We have to pray for that. And finally, Jan Helen McLary says the 21st century will depend on women and companies. A large part of humanization will be produced by women. She was the Vice Minister of External Affairs in Norway. Having 4 children, finally, he decided to go to the profession again of professor. And she was she's striving for women and to become really the change agent we need. So in Europe is one of those persons that everybody has written, has read. And I think she was one of those that first started like Vikingo, but in a woman way, no? Starting in the right sense. So let's make it our golden age. Thank you very much, and remember that the destiny shuffles the cards, but we are the ones playing them. Okay? So thank you very much.
www.manhattan CCTV